When you're in your home, or really anywhere, we handle doors probably more than anything else in our entire space. What do interior doors mean to you and the role that it really plays in a luxurious home?
For me, the doors are everything right now. If you think about it, if you're buying a house, you walk into the house and it's completely empty. There's nothing in there. What do you see? You see the entrance door first, you see the floor, you see the kitchen, and you see the doors. So if you want to have something which is going to be not only beautiful, but also functional, and which is going to be bringing value to your home, you want to have a cool door.
Welcome, everyone, to today's podcast episode. You're listening to the Home Design Podcast. My name is Adam Kayce, your host, and we aim to educate, inspire, and connect South Florida with the industry authorities within their trade. I have a question for you. So what if the secret to a truly luxurious home isn't the furniture or the finishes, but the doors? We're going to unlock the artistry, innovation, and European elegance behind the modern interior door from pivot doors, hand-stitched leather, and we're going to discuss how Indigo Doors is redefining luxury, one entryway at a time. How you doing, Elena?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. This is Elena Biletska, CEO of Indigo Doors.
That's correct.
All right. So I've known you for a while now, pretty much since you started and, been in this industry, and you guys continue to grow, continue to evolve. But before we get into all of that, I want to dive in, maybe ask you the most challenging question of the day. And your husband may have sent out a warning. You might not want to ask this question, but who is Elena?
That's a tough question.
Right?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say that I was not born here in the United States. So I'm from a famous country, unfortunately, Ukraine. And the doors that we're doing are also brought from there. And now, for obvious reason, partially from Poland as well. So I'm an attorney. I was not a carpenter. I was not anyhow related to the construction industry at all.
That's why I had you sign that document before you came in here, because I know the repercussion.
Yeah, I worked in court, and and it was a beautiful life. And then at some point, it changed, and we decided to move in here. And at first, we lived in New York, so we didn't move to Florida at first. And my first job, coincidentally, it was the door company. So I worked as a salesperson. That's why I know the industry, from the lowest level, I can say that way, because when you become a boss and you start a company and you don't have any experience, the real life experience, I think it's very hard. But when you started as a salesperson for someone else, you see some things which maybe, if you would become a CEO right away, you would not see. And my husband told me not to tell the story. But anyway, so while I was working in there, my boss, he was younger than me, and he was really a fun guy, and I respect him because he did a good job, and the company went bankrupt back then. But anyway,
that's a different story.
Yeah, that's a different story. So, and he was telling me, because I actually treated that company as if it was my own. So I was not that type of person that, hey, 6 p.m. and I'm leaving and I'm not answering the phone calls. No, I was actually being active, and I treated it very well. And I was trying to help, so I was giving some ideas and advices and everything. And the guy was telling me, listen, if you're that smart, why don't you start your own company? So that's what we did.
That's a great segue into it, because, you guys came into the market. Well, and you started it when you were in New York, or you started it when you moved to South Florida?
No, we didn't want to compete with that company.
Right.
And plus, we've been to Florida several times. And
who doesn't want to come down here?
It's a beautiful state. It's a beautiful weather and nice people in here. So I lived for 20 years in the winter.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in the winter anymore. So that's why we decided, to move down here, start from scratch. I didn't want any customers that I knew from New York. I'm that kind of person that I know that I can do things by myself. So for me, it was very important to start things and not to prove something, but it was something that I really kind of felt for and I really liked it. Because when you are working in court, you're dealing with just papers and that's pretty much it.
Right.
Here, you're dealing with people. Not that it's always a good thing, but you're still dealing with a lot of good people and you meet people and you make friends. So that's why me and my husband, we moved here and we started, and at first, it was literally just me selling the doors and him being in the warehouse.
Yeah.
That's how we started. So now if someone says, oh, you don't know what it is, I'm like, oh, trust me, I know what it is.
No, and I saw your start. I mean, one of your first entry points into the market was really in the home show. And you've been in the home show, and I don't think you've ever missed a home show, in all of these years. But it's been truly an inspiring story watching how you guys started, how you've evolved, how you've introduced product, the mechanisms, things like that, and how you guys have a showroom that's really unlike any other interior door company that I've ever come across. And I see a lot of companies. I mean, it's truly impressive because a lot of people think about interior doors, even the interior door companies, as far as a showroom not taking priority, but you guys prioritized showing an experience and showing it in our shows, having your own showroom, and your showroom has continued to grow and evolve. But talking about doors, so doors I feel like for many, many years was kind of like an afterthought. It was kind of like end of the project. What do we have left? Okay, are we just going to have some hollow core? Yeah, paint them, whatever. But think about it. When you're in your home, or really anywhere, we handle doors probably more than anything else in our entire space. We're opening and closing nonstop every single room. It gives you privacy. It gives you design. It gives you everything that you could want. And there's so much that goes into interior doors. But I want to ask you the question. What do interior doors mean to you and the role that it really plays in a luxurious home?
For me, the doors are everything right now because this is what I do and I truly love what I'm doing for the projects and for the houses, for people. As you said, people do not pay too much attention to the doors themselves. But if you think about it, if you're buying a house, you walk into the house and it's completely empty. There's nothing in there. What do you see? You see the entrance door first. You see the floor. You see the kitchen. It might be some vanities installed and you see the doors. So it's the same thing as, if you see some, I wouldn't say cheap materials, but not quality materials for the flooring and, for the windows and so on and on. It's the same thing for the door. People may not be using the vanity 5 million times per day, but you are using the door 5 million times per day. So if you want to have something which is going to be not only beautiful, but also functional and which is going to be bringing value to your home, you want to have a cool door.
Absolutely. And cool doors come in a lot of different shapes, sizes, mechanisms, finishes. I mean, it's incredible what goes into it. And you guys are really changing the way how people look at interior doors and the function that they play in a home, but also the design aesthetic, because it's incredible. And there's doors that are meant to be seen. There's doors that are meant to be hidden. There's doors that are made for every single different type of space. But talking about these different types of doors. And the first step, I guess, that goes into these doors is I want to talk about what defines quality. Like what makes a quality door? Because, if you can talk about the different types of doors in the sense of construction, as far as the type of wood, hollow, things like that. Let's kind of run through that first.
So for me, the quality door, first of all, it's the technologies that you are using. So it has to be technically correct piece of a product, because in the majority of cases, especially here when it comes to carpentry, and I don't blame the people because, at the end of the day, the customer is happy. But for me, for a person who digs into this industry, for me, it's important to have a correct structure of the doors. It cannot be like 3 pieces of MDF and then you put an edge band and that's it. And here you go, the door. No, this is incorrect. The door needs to have an inside frame. It needs to have the middle panel. Something has to be there. We, as Indigo Doors, we do not use any hollow doors or honeycomb doors, so the doors are solid. But still, even the doors which are manufactured as that, hollow and with the honeycomb, they still have the correct technical procedure and the way of being done. So that's the first thing. So for me, if you just glue a couple things together, if you glue a couple things together, for me, it's not the door. Second, it's the finish, because you see a lot of pictures on the Instagram and they all look nice,
right.
But then you go to the project, you see the quality of the finish itself, and then you're like, okay, how can you have a $20 million house and you have, the door which looks like it just came out of your grandma's barn or something? It is sad. It is sad, but
right.
That's a reality. So the second thing would be the finish. The hardware is another important part, because if you use some not quality hardware, something which just does not fit in there, or if you're mortising the door for the hardware and that, that bore is not done precisely, for me, it's a disaster. I cannot stand when I see that.
And I want to just bring something out. So define bore, because a lot of people don't know the terms that goes into all the components.
Okay, my English is not that well. I'm Ukrainian, okay?
You speak pretty well.
Well, that is the hole that you pre-drill in order to insert the hardware.
Right,
So, yeah.
Because there's a lot of mechanisms, and also the framing that goes into it. And because all of these different components is what makes a structurally sound door. Yeah. There's a lot of engineering, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of process that goes into making these quality products. And even talking about, the different types of structure, like people generally think like, okay, a door, it's a wooden door.
A door is a door.
A door is a door.
Yeah.
But a door is so far from a door, and it's jewelry. It's something that is really indicating a quality home, luxury home, because what defines a builder is the materials also that they're putting into it, because that reflects the final product. But I want to talk about other types of materials that you're introducing, because, when people think about doors, they might be thinking about, wooden doors, or
the door which you need to paint, Home Depot stuff.
Right. But I want to talk about glass. I want to talk about these different materials that you guys are introducing that people have seen, but not in the way that you guys are using them.
Yeah, we use a lot of, I wouldn't call them really innovative materials, but it's something that people are not used to see on the door. Because in reality, here in United States, the majority of the people, they see just two types. They see a 6-panel, which you can paint, and then something wooden, and that's it. And when the people come over to the showroom, they see the variety of the doors, because we have about 80 pieces or something, and we're adding and changing. They get lost, because they're like, is this a door? Is this a wall? Like they don't understand, because we use several materials within the finishes. We do the natural wood veneers, and some of those are really crazy. It's something that the furniture companies, very famous furniture companies like Bentley Home, they had a collection about 3-4 years ago. They did in English Sycamore. They did the whole collection of their, luxury couches and all that kind of stuff. And we saw that and we were like, okay, we have to have the door like this. And we actually have an order with the people have that furniture. Wow. And we have that door in there. So it's kind of cool. So the different veneers, regular standard wood veneers, or some exotic pieces, we do that. We also use enamels. So enamel can be pretty much in any color. From time to time, we have the request to match something, and we send the physical sample to the factory in Europe, so that when they create that door, when they make the door in enamel, they can match the finish so that the wall kind of blends in into, to the interior. Oh my God. So also we're using eco veneers. We are not using any laminate or CPL, because people have to be educated on that. That is plastic, and that's not the safest plastic. We use polypropylene films, which is also plastic, but this is the safest plastic as of today. It doesn't get any toxins when it gets heated and so on and on. And it's basically the milk cans are made of that.
Right.
So, we're very careful with that, because here in the United States, it's people have allergies, people have problems, you don't want to mess with people's health 100%. It's not that it's the biggest part of our production, but we still use it. Now we, about 3-4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, we started bringing the doors which are made not of wood, but which are made of aluminum. And the aluminum, you have more options. We do dividers with glass, so you can use absolutely any type of glass, different forms, shapes, colors, and so on. You can also put any type of mirror. You can put leather, as you said. Yeah, we have a concept which is similar to the Hermes Birkin bag, but we call it a Birkin door.
It is a showstopper. It's incredible. It's something that you've never seen before. Hand stitched leather. I mean, it is. Yeah. You can select as far as obviously choose what color leather and the type of leather.
It's exactly the same as
also the stitching. Like
Ask
you can choose the
wife.
stitching. Right.
Seriously.
We're going to keep her away from that.
Okay. Kelly, do not listen to this podcast. Yeah. So you choose the leather because it's not only the color, but it's the texture. You choose the stitching. First of all, it's 2 types of stitching. It can be handmade. It can be the machine made, and they're different. And you choose the color of the thread in there. And then also you choose the color of the hardware. So basically, if that store does not sell you the Birkin bag, just come over. We'll get you the Birkin door.
The Birkin door, or match it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, it's truly incredible. I mean, and when I say how you guys are redefining what luxury means in homes, in the sense of how doors are appreciated in a different way. I mean, you truly are, because you're thinking beyond what people think is the possibilities.
We're a little bit crazy about the doors,
Right.
Just for everyone to, we are a little bit crazy about the doors, because for me, if you have a very good hobby, which brings you good income, that's the best life that you can live.
Right.
You live in a beautiful place, you're doing something that you really like, and you profit from it. And I think this is the best combination. That's why we're a little bit crazy. And when we see something new, some new materials, like let's say porcelain, I've seen before that people were gluing the porcelain slabs on top of a wooden door. But then, okay, what do you do with the edges?
Right.
Like, technically, it's not correct. If it's not technically correct, for me, it's not a quality product. So with the aluminum doors, we also added a part of the collection is, I think it's called Miranti. So that one is with the porcelain. When people have, let's say, master bathroom, and they want to have a water closet room, and they want it to blend in completely, you just put exactly the same tile, and we provide you that door, and we give you the specs of what your porcelain slab needs to be prepared for.
That's amazing, because seamless is what people are looking for.
Yeah.
And you have all those different types of products. Even I've seen, like, it looks like a fluted glass.
Yeah. That's my favorite.
Yeah, talk about that, because, the possibilities truly are endless. And crazy about doors. I mean, you guys bring that craze into, all of these different types of varieties. And like I said before, showing the possibility. But talk about the glass elements, because when people think about doors, they might not be thinking about glass and being something that is durable for a home or things like that.
Yeah, well, when we started, we had a lot of requests for bathroom doors to be glass doors, which for me, as a person from Eastern Europe, was I didn't understand why.
Right.
Like, why would you want to have a glass? When you have a bathroom in there, I'm like, that's kind of
Right.
interesting. Now, because it's more about the design. In some cases, people get used to glass more and more often. Like the office doors, and the majority of cases, people order clear glass. I would not want to have a clear glass in my office. I would
Right.
want to have a secured door just completely closed so that my kid cannot bother me.
Well, I mean, your office here in your showroom is a hidden door, so they don't.
Yeah,
people,
no one knows.
Yeah.
No one knows, and and I have the smart seal, which is like a threshold which drops down. So even if I start yelling, no one hears that.
That's
it's
funny.
Very good sound insulation in there. So, but going back to the glass, right now it's a trending part of the interior design is the glass dividers. When people have spaces which they want to divide, or sometimes they have some kind of den and they want to make it partially have it like a bedroom, or sometimes they want to have whatever office, or they want to have a movie theater, which I would not recommend putting the glass into a movie theater. But still, people have their vision, and we're trying to help them to make that vision come true. So with the glass, first with these dividers, because they come in crazy sizes. Like seriously, I don't know if you understand in meters, but it can be up to like 3-4 meters in the width and maybe like 7 meters in the height, which is like 20 feet, I think.
That's massive.
It's crazy. As long as the material for that, for that profile exists, you can do crazy things. With the glass designs, in most cases, people want something simple, something which is not truly clear, transparent, a little bit of tint, some bronzish notes and stuff like that. A lot of people want to have something printed on the glass, like you want to have your picture, you want to have your kids, you want to have some kind of design which is matching your wallpaper. Not that we have those requests too often, because Miami is more modern, so they prefer like more or less standard stuff, but it's something which is possible as well. And the types of the glass, well, first we're using tempered glass, because otherwise you just cannot have a huge piece of glass and then someone will throw something into it and it will break. So yeah, we don't play those games.
No, absolutely.
The fluted glass is kind of interesting. We call it rigato. That's the name that we have in our company, but it's kind of interesting because it gives you a 50% of privateness. So you kind of can see through it, but you cannot see through it. So that is kind of unique. Also, it's a very trendy thing right now, the different meshes inside of the glass. And we are going to be adding a lot of aluminum doors with the glass into the showroom within the next 6 months, I would say, maybe 7 months, because we ordered, but it's from Europe, so it's production time, and then it's coming, and then so on, and then the installation. So we will have some new products, and we will also have some new systems on the aluminum, because it's kind of interesting. This year at I Saloni in Milan, several companies, they were presenting kind of bifold doors on the glass, and they were saying that this is the newest trend. This is something that they invented. And I was looking at that and I'm like, okay, we did about 2.5 years ago. A customer requested that. We didn't know how to do it, but we made it.
Wow.
Our technical team at the factory, they made the drawings. We invented our own hinge to make that happen.
That's incredible.
So yeah, and then, when 2 years after.
Should have patented it.
Well,
right? Thinking back then.
Well, actually, because we invented several specifically for our doors, because the manufacturers of the hardware, in majority of the cases, they have the hardware which does not have capacity to hold heavy doors. So that's why we had to make, and we actually do have one patent for one hinge is 100%, because that one we're using for our swing aluminum doors. Gotcha. So yeah, but it was kind of interesting because, you have a request, you do it, and you don't think that it's such a big deal. And then, it's like very innovative product, on the biggest show in the world, basically the biggest design show. Not as big as the home show.
Exactly.
But it was kind of cool, like you feel that you are very proud of what you're doing when you know the things like that.
And that goes to the point that I feel like if people can dream it, you guys will figure it out, because you like challenges, you like innovation, and you guys, what you've accomplished is incredible. But you mentioned trends a few times. So trends are obviously a part of every industry. We see what's coming, what's the newest, the latest, the greatest. But what's your process in the sense of always staying ahead of the trends and staying ahead of your competition?
Oh, I'm a witch. I'm just kidding.
You predict.
But, it's actually a good sense of feeling the style. I don't even know how to explain that. Probably some people, well, I don't want to show off in here, but probably some people are born with that. You notice things, not specifically in the door business, but you just notice things everywhere. You see that, hey, these, let's say, metal materials are being used in the kitchens. And then you see what kind of colors and finishes for the floors are being used, where they starting to shift. And that's how you kind of make your idea. Okay, so if this industry is moving this way, maybe it will be moving here with the doors.
Right. And
so far, we were very successful in predicting the trends, and also the show that I was saying, and of course, plus the home show, because it's, it's an idea bucket of old design stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we watch those, and it's interesting because when you come from Eastern Europe, the trends that you have in Eastern Europe, they come to United States a couple years after.
Right.
It very helpful, seriously, because you know what's in there. Not everything works. And, even with the companies that are working here in the United States, which are American companies, like knowing two different markets, I understand that, let's say, some doors which are being made here in the United States, they would not be sold in Europe. No one would buy them.
Right.
So, but a lot of doors which are made in Europe, they're being sold in here just because it's something a little bit different. I would say European doors, which are made in Europe, because it's two different things. I'm
Right.
going this way. It's two different things when people say, "Oh, it's Italian style doors" or "It's a European style doors." It's like Apple, designed in California, but it's actually made in China.
Right.
So is that?
I guess the key word we have to look out for is style, because if it's European style versus a European door, because that's a good point.
Designed somewhere, in European Union and then made somewhere in Hellendale, it doesn't make you a European door. It's a European
Or if you're from Europe, you could call it manufactured by Europeans in America. No, but when you're looking at all of this and, staying current and staying ahead and going through the development of what Indigo Doors is and your constant growth, you guys obviously have that focus point of European doors. It's manufactured in Europe. You guys are designing it, everything.
Always tell they are truly made in Europe.
What would you say is the appeal of European doors or European product in particular? Because when people think of European, they think of higher quality, different materials, things like that. Is there something that, truly stands out in the sense of the appeal and having a European product in your home?
I think it's... Okay, we're going back to the technologies again,
Yeah.
but I think although it's surprising because, United States of America is a very advanced country, but when it comes to manufacturing technologies, for some reason, Europe is a little bit more advanced. So I think the technology of the production itself, the materials, the design, because, all the trends come from Europe. Why everyone likes Italian stuff? Because it might not be the best quality. Look at the Maserati, right?
Right.
But it's a beautiful design. You want to get that. So I think that when it comes to whether buying American door or buying European door, it might not be, it depends on what you want. Because if you want to have the most solid door, which is going to be lasting forever, for 100 years, most likely you're going to buy something here locally because it is something that people are requesting here. European doors, I'm not talking about my doors right now, but in general, European doors, they may not have the best solidness, but they will have a beautiful design. They will be manufactured correctly. They will have good materials. They will last long. They will not be too heavy for the hardware, because that's another problem.
Right.
When people are asking, "Oh, I want the solid door. I want it to be heavy." You don't want it to be heavy, because if you have a door, the heaviest door is probably made from MDF, I would say. Well, we're not talking about metals, but something which is wood paper type.
Right.
But that door will require you to put 5-6 hinges just because it's too heavy, and it's not good for the hardware. So the hardware which you can use for 10, 15, 20 or 30 years, you will be able to use in 5 years.
Right.
So it's not good either. So it's different approach, it's different design, it's different technology. And well, I'm from Europe, so I can say that I think European people are a little bit more picky.
Right.
We are.
Well, you look at design, you look at fashion, you look at all elements of design, and a lot of it originates from Europe in the sense of, the manufacturing, the design element, the prestige of brands, things like that.
And it's not only that, America is such a unique country. You have a very low not market, but competitorship here when it comes to European doors. In Europe, it's so full. And
Right.
that is why people have to advance technologies. They need to create new products. They need to offer something which no one has, because it's thousands and millions of competitors who can do it better or can do the same.
Right.
Here in the United States, it's a little bit easier. It's one of my friends is always telling me that in order to conduct business here in Florida, in order to be successful, you just need to pick up the phone, and that's
And
it.
show up.
Yeah.
That's
in Europe,
yeah.
it doesn't work. You really need to work harder, and that's why I think that's another drive why European stuff is a little bit different, because if you don't do something new, if you don't do something of a very good quality, you're just not going to survive in there.
Right. No, absolutely. And we've mentioned different materials. We've mentioned, obviously all the parts that go into a door. I want to talk about the mechanisms a little bit more and kind of go through them, because those are the elements that really change the dynamic as far as the functionality of a space. Because, there's traditional doors, there's pocket doors, there's pivot doors, frameless doors is coming on. Like, it's extremely popular because of what you're able to do and how you can blend it into a wall, and what, a lot of custom home builders are integrating. Rotary doors, magic doors. I mean, the list goes on and on. Let's touch on, the capabilities of some of these different mechanisms. So that way, like, a lot of people, they might have a hallway and a regular door doesn't fit, but they're thinking, okay, it has to be a bifold door. But there are other doors, like, I forget what it's called. Is it the rotary door?
Yeah,
the one that goes like halfway in, halfway out. So it's like you can have a one-piece door, or there's even other ones that like kind of fold out. The compact door. I mean, I've seen them all. It's incredible, and it will truly change a space. But, talk about that a little bit.
Let me define first, because you're talking about some things which are a little bit from the different parts of the doors. So you have different types of jambs. Jamb is the frame, basically. So the traditional that you see everywhere is just the jamb, and the casing, which is the trim around. Then you can have the hidden, which is another type of the jamb. It's not technically a system because it's a swing door, but it's just the jamb, which is different. We also do coplanar jambs. So with the standard jamb, you have, with the standard framing, you have the jamb, which is a little bit visible, and the casing is raised up. It's an L-shaped casing. That's why it's easy to cover any type of the wall if the wall is not straight, because you just adjust it a little bit. Coplanar is a very similar concept, but with coplanar, you have the casing, which is the trim for everybody, which is covering the frame, the jamb itself completely, and it's flush to the door. That is a cool type of the system. Well, it's not the system, it's the frame itself. So it's a cool type of frame because instead of a casing, you can have a panel. So this can be extended, and that's how you make a frameless door integrated into a panel, but you do it correctly. Not that you have a frameless door and then, you apply something on top and then it doesn't open full weight just because, you added additional couple millimeters into it. But that's the system. Well, that's the frame which is widely used with our customers when they want to have, one huge wall with different panels, and then, you have the doors in that panel which are installed. They can swing in, they can swing out, and that's the advantage, because with regular doors, in order for you to have an in-swing door, you need to just reverse it. With the coplanar one and with the hidden as well, you can have it flush from one side, but one can swing in and the other one can swing out, which is very comfortable, because before everything was supposed to be swinging out.
Right.
Then we have a fourth type of a frame. This, we call it a California frame, because seriously, that's something that people from California order all the time. It is the frame which is, I don't even know how to describe it. It doesn't have the casing, but it kind of have the casing which is integrated into the frame. When you see those pictures on the Instagram, when there is a door and there's like a teeny tiny little thing around it,
like an outline, like basically
yeah. So that's what it is. But no one orders in Florida. Everyone orders in California.
Really?
Yeah. That's what we call it, California. Right. Frame. So these are types of frame, but all of these frames, they can be installed on different systems. So if you have a regular traditional door, you can have it swing, you can have it pocket, right? With a frameless, you can also have a frameless hidden, frameless swing door, and you can have a frameless pocket door. It's just not going to have the frame. You're going to be using the system. The same thing with the pivot. You can have a pivot with the jambs and casings. You can have a pivot as a frameless. So, that's why I wanted to separate that, so the people understand that there's different types of frames themselves.
Right.
And then it's another division, and, you're dividing into different systems. Pivot systems, I need to tell you, it's a very, I really like those doors. I wouldn't say that they're very easy to install, because the majority of those doors ordered, they're huge.
Right.
Yeah. People want to have, the exterior doors are usually pivot, and then the grand master bedroom entrance is, in the majority of cases, is a pivot door. We are using, I think actually it is the best system in the world. It's manufactured in Netherlands. I don't know why people think it's German. It's actually made in Netherlands, but it is the best. It is used absolutely everywhere in every luxury construction sites here in the United States, everywhere in Europe, in Asia. They're huge.
Right.
And the systems that we're using, they can carry up the door, which is up to 500 kilograms, which will be what, 1,000 pounds. 1,000 pounds.
Must be, yeah.
That will be, you need to add that
Right.
calculation,
The European mathematical.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool because you are using, your own doors, and you're using the hardware is so well known and it's so advanced that you're becoming a part of that as well. You can use, as you said, the rotary door when it stops halfway. You can do the compact, which people mistaken it for the bifold, but it's a completely different
it is
system.
different, absolutely.
Yeah. And then the bifold, traditionally it just folds and it sticks out.
Right.
The compact system can lean against the wall, and the cool thing about it, that you can install the lock on the bifold. How will you install the lock?
You can't. Right.
The
it's like
old,
a latch.
The old grandma style.
No, without a doubt. And that's where people see the possibilities, and really the best way to experience it is in a showroom, or when people visit you at the home show. I watch people opening and closing these doors, and just like the awe, like the amazement
That's
that they have.
That's my favorite part,
Because really, like, people don't realize how a door can truly change a space. And these mechanisms are so advanced that it improves the functionality. It gives you more space, because if you're creating a closet and you have this door and it interferes with the design of the closet or whatever it might be, or all these different rooms, it's truly impressive.
And that's why we are inviting people to the showroom all the time, because,
right.
you know how we started. You saw our first showroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was very small and very little, and we did the renovation by ourselves in there, and we did what we could. The second showroom already, we did a great showroom, and I think honestly, I think we have the best showroom in Florida. 100%.
I've never seen a door showroom like what you guys have.
I don't know if in the United States, but in Florida, 100%. And we're always inviting people, because when you see it, our website is probably like before Christ time. Seriously, we have so much stuff to do that we literally do not have time to work on the website. Right. But now we actually are working, so we're going to be changing it. But I'm always inviting people to the showroom, because I say, listen, just come over, just feel it. Sometimes people look at one door and then they come to the showroom and they're like, oh my God, this is the one. You like the shape of it, you like the design of it, you like the feel, even the handles. It's something very important, because when people are choosing the door, it's not just the door, it's the handle. You need to feel it if you like it, if it's too square, if it's too rounded or whatever. But I always say, come to the showroom. Just come to the showroom, because you need to see the quality. We stand for the quality.
Right.
We might not be having the best, the most modern designs and stuff like that, but we stand for the quality. And it is kind of interesting, because I see other companies, I'm not talking about the door companies, but in general, the companies, they start working, and then in 2-3 years, the quality goes down, and then, customer service goes down, and so on and on. We try to keep everything at the same level and even improve. You have
right.
to be a little bit crazy about what you're doing, because listen, if you want to sell something, you have to like it. It's, I usually make the comparison with the cars. Like, I mean, if I would have to sell Toyota Corolla, I would,
right.
But I would be much happier to sell, a Porsche 911.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's the same thing, you have to like what you're doing. And if you have the door, even when I'm thinking about the salespeople, so you
right.
work for the company and you have the product, which is, it's okay, but it's not as good as you thought it will be. You don't have that excitement to sell it. You don't have that excitement to show it to people, and you're not that excited when the project is finished.
Right.
So we are excited, because we're crazy about the doors.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of questions that go into also selecting the right door, because it's knowing the use case, where it's going to be, what other components are being installed in the home. What's your process? Like, what does your team do when somebody walks into your space? Doesn't matter if we're talking about a homeowner coming into your showroom, a designer, a home builder. What is that process in the sense of selecting the right door?
First of all, you need to ask right questions. I always teach the salespeople that in order for you to understand what the person wants, you need to ask the questions. And those might not be the questions on the color and the design.
Right.
So you need to ask, whether it is a condo or it's a house. That kind of gives you an idea what people may want. You're asking, of course, you're asking about the timing, because if the time is limited, you need to get something from stock. I think we're one of the unique companies which have both stock and special order. So if you need something fast, you get something from stock. If you have half a year, all the time of your life, then you can order absolutely any door. The salespeople, first, they will be asking you correct questions. If you have the design project with a designer, or if you're a designer, sometimes it makes your life easier because you see what they want. Sometimes working with a designer can be very hard because they change their mind a million times. But then at the very end of the project, it looks cool. Right. Like you struggle a little bit, but then you have the reward for it. Then we also, when the order is placed, especially if it's a special order and it's a complicated order, we provide measurements. So we send our person from our company, not an installer, not a contractor. We go there and we tell them, hey, this needs to be reinforced, this needs to be raised, this needs to be lowered, whatever you need to do. And we're telling them, listen, if sometimes people want to have swing this way, and you see that it's physically impossible just to have it because they have some kind of vanity in there or something else or something else. So we guide them through. And well, sometimes people are ordering things that we look and we're a little bit surprised, but I do not remember even one project which ended up and we would walk in and be like, oh no, it doesn't match here. Right. And like sometimes you're very surprised, but at the very end of the day, it's always a cool project.
Without a doubt. And that's the thing, because also the industry doesn't know everything that's available, because unless they've experienced it or seen it in a project or used it in a project, there's so much. And it's hard for, whether they're a home builder or a designer or somebody specifying product for a project, to know everything that's available in the market.
For contractor, it's very hard, because listen, even the contractor who works for 30 years, they still do mistakes. That's why we always tell them that, listen, either you tell us which sizes of the doors you would like to have, and we will tell you the rough openings that you need to make, or let us measure the rough openings and we'll just make the doors exactly to your sizes. You won't need to change anything. Because, one of the very common mistakes in the measurements is when we are given the rough opening and we put huge letters. This is with floor already on.
Right.
Because we are not a builder. We don't know what the thickness of the floor is. And when the doors are ordered at the stage when there's no floor, we're saying, listen, if you're making the rough opening, please add the thickness of the floor into the total height. And then, the person has a 96-inch door, which is 8 feet. We tell them, hey, for a regular door, it has to be 98. They do 98. Then they put 2 inches of the floor, and then they're like, oh, it doesn't fit.
Right.
Listen, we had a customer where the contractor told us a gazillion % it is going to be 10 feet doors. We ordered exactly 10 feet doors, and then the ceiling was 2 inches lower than 10 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And those were aluminum doors, which you cannot adjust with a glass.
Wow.
So seriously, that's why it's very important whenever it comes, especially to special orders, because they come from Europe. It takes several months to get them. We don't want to have the mistakes. And there's no one really to blame in there.
Doorless home.
Yeah, we just want you to get the right product from the very beginning, because these mistakes, they cost time, effort, and money for everybody. And, I feel bad when the customer has to reorder when the contractor or the customer made a mistake. And it costs us money, if we made a mistake as well. So that's why whenever it comes to special orders, I am sending the head of our warehouse, because he is working for us. That's another cool story. He was our first employee, and he's still with us. It's been more than 7 years that he's with us. Yeah, so he knows everything.
And I know because I see you guys all the time. I go into your showroom, you're at our shows. I see the same people over and over, which is amazing, because your team does this every single day. They get challenges as far as different things that they're seeing and ways of installation and things like that. They're working with all different types of designers, contractors. They're like personality managers, because when you're dealing with a lot of people. But you mentioned the measurements, because that is extremely important, clearly, and it's probably the easiest thing to make a mistake on, because if you don't send your team out there, there could be misinterpretation as far as, okay, were they talking about, the height of the floor to the base to whatever it might be. But are there other common mistakes that you see in the installation process that is something that is easily avoidable?
A very interesting mistake, because the way European companies are considering the swings is a little bit different from the American companies.
Okay.
And when I just started working, when I was talking to one of the contractors, and he was telling me, he's like, it's a right hand out. And I'm like, this is not right hand out. I'm like, this is a left hand out. I'm like, the hinges are on the left. I'm like, he's like, no, you put your back to the hinge side, and then your hand goes out. And I'm like, okay, this is very complicated for me.
Right.
Like, let me explain to you how we are figuring that out and how we determine the swings. Because for us, it's very easy. Well, when we say right hand, it's actually right hinge or left hinge. So if the hinges are on the right side,
Right.
this will be a right hand door. If
Right.
it goes inside of the room, it's an in swing. If it goes outside of the room, it's an out swing.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but here it's a little bit different. Like the old school contractors, for some reason, they you're supposed to, as far as I understood, you're supposed to put your back to the hinge side, and if it's this way, it's an in swing. If it's this way, it's an out swing.
Huh.
So that's why with those mistakes, I'm usually, we're sending people the diagram with the swings, and we
Right.
explain to them that, listen, show us how do you walk into the room, even if it's a linen closet. How
Well, the
would you
question
walk
is,
in?
which room are you walking into?
Yeah.
Am I walking into the living room from the bedroom, or am I walking into the bedroom from the
You're going
There's
to
a
the
lot of
bedroom.
interpretation. So,
Yeah,
and that's important because, it's all things that can be avoided. And it's just a matter of taking those steps, asking the right questions.
And communication.
Right.
It's communication and confirmation. Sometimes, we have the customers who really get mad because they're like, listen, why are you asking me the same question fifth time? And
Right.
I'm like, because you never confirmed.
Right. No, absolutely.
Just confirm, and I will never bother you ever again. Just tell yes or no. It's very important because, sometimes people don't have time. Sometimes they don't pay attention. Sometimes, they're like, oh, I have to change it. Then they never changed it. That's
Right.
why when we're placing the orders, we make sure that, whatever you are signing, because people are signing the order, we need to have a confirmation that they agreed to what they ordered.
Right.
We make sure, and we put all the notes, all the comments, if you need to readjust something, we put it in the quote. Hey, this opening needs to be readjusted. And, when the person says, I never saw it, I'm so sorry, but it's right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have, we have to learn.
You have to be
how
thorough.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for you guys, you're working with all different types of people. Like we already mentioned, you have homeowners, architects, designers, contractors, everybody. But you're also working on residential projects as well as commercial projects. There's things that go into commercial that people might not be thinking about for residential, fire rated and things like that, different types of elements. But how do you approach these different projects? Because whether somebody is building, a luxury office or something like that, or if it's for a home, I'm sure there's different things that apply to each space differently.
First of all, it's in the materials, because when you have a high traffic area, when you have a commercial side, you don't want to have the materials which are going to be used for residential, because
Right.
some woods, let's say, are soft woods. Definitely you would not want to put those into the offices. And, in the offices, at home, sometimes, you don't want to put some man-made material, let's put it that way, just because you want to have something a little bit better. For the office, it would be okay. Not that we're doing a lot of commercials, and we do it for a reason, because we specialize in high-end residential. Commercial, yes, but not too much. However, it's one of the things that we are going to be having. We are going through the certification for American market to have the fire-rated doors.
Right.
We have the certification from Europe. So our company in Europe, we do sell in. But then here, we never thought about this. And, probably the only type that we were ever requested is the door for the garage, from the house to
Right.
the garage. But that door, since I have a legal background, I go to the codes.
Right.
So the code says that it has to be either 20-minute fire rated, or it has to be a hollow or honeycomb metal door, not less than 1 3/8, or it has to be a solid wood door, not less than 1 3/8. So we never had the problem because our doors comply. They're solid doors, and they're much thicker than 1 3/8.
Right.
But now we began to have more requests from residential buildings when they want to replace the entrance doors into the apartments.
Right.
That requires 90 minutes fire rating. So that's why we never thought that we will go into it, and it's not like completely our specialization, but we decided that we should. So now I think we got to the point that
way you're not turning away like, oh, we do everything but the door.
But
from
the
the
door,
entry, but the front door in a condo.
Yeah.
Because that's important, because all of these different things that we've discussed about throughout this podcast, we've talked about, what makes Indigo special, all of the different elements. You in indigo, it is a very specific color. But when you look at everything and all these different things, it all comes down to experience, expertise, the materials, mechanisms, and really being detailed on every single part of the business. When somebody is going into a project, and again, taking it out, could be a homeowner looking at their future home or their remodel, whatever it might be. It could be an architect. It could be a custom home builder. It could be a contractor, whatever it might be. To make sure that they're working with the right company or selecting the right materials, are there questions that you would suggest to people when going into a company, asking the questions and really knowing what they're buying?
It depends on the project. Like you cannot have a set of the questions that, the person should have the answers for when they come to choose the doors, because people's mind works a little bit differently.
Right.
So people come for one thing and, sometimes they're convinced that they need this thing. And then they come to the showroom and they choose something different.
Right.
Well, the standard questions would be, as always, the timing, the look, the material, the design, more or less, and the frames. Because, if you want to have a frameless door, there's this type of materials and designs and options that you have. If you want traditional doors, then it's going to be completely different. But I wouldn't say that you should be completely, prepared and do your homework. I want this and this is the size of the jamb. No, we will help you. Just come to the showroom and we will help you, because that's the easiest way. Listen, when I go and buy tiles, let's say, or a kitchen or any type of furniture, I'm not a professional in that. So I rely on professionals. So we always tell people, just trust us. Trust the process, trust us, and we will help you.
Right. 100%. But it also, if somebody doesn't know you or they haven't come across you and they're working with somebody else, they should know if there's certain elements, because the average person, they would have no idea if if the door was truly manufactured properly, other than what the person is saying, because there's a lot of people out there.
We have the technical specifications,
so you can look at the specifications and be able to look at it.
Yeah, especially when you are working with architects, interior designers, and developers, they specify your doors in the project. So you have to have all that documentation. They need to know what's inside. They need to know what's the outside. They need to have the sizing for the framing and all that kind of stuff. So that we do provide. We don't have a problem with
right.
it. Yeah.
No, and that's important to be able to. And that could be a question. Just if they're working with a company, ask them for the technical, all components that goes into the engineering and construction of the door.
And another thing that I wanted to tell you, when people come to the showroom, we prefer to educate them on the doors. You don't tell them, hey, my door is so cool, you got to buy this door.
Right.
No, you're actually...
But they are.
Well, they are, but but we're educating them. We tell them at least a minimum, of what they need to know. We talk about different hardware. We talk about finishes. We give them different samples. We show them. We make them touch the doors. So we're like, okay, if you don't touch the door, you're not leaving the showroom.
Right, exactly.
So they need to know. They need to know what to pay attention for. They need to know, basically even how the systems work, because if you see that the system in somewhere else is not working properly, do you really want to get that door? Maybe that door is going to be installed in your home and it's not going to be working properly.
Right.
You need to look at the edges of the door, because that's what shows actually the quality of the door. If the edges are smooth and done correctly, then you most likely have a good door. If the edges look like someone just cut it right now and put the edge band on it, I wouldn't buy that for myself. It's it's the same as if you're buying, let's say, a table for your kitchen, right? So you're buying a plastic table or you buy something from IKEA, it's one thing. But if you want something which is a quality product, you will get some stone, you will have some wood in there. You see the craftsmanship of how it's made, and it's completely different. The same thing with the door. We treat the doors as furniture. It's not a building material. It's not sheetrock, it's not the stud. It is furniture. It is furniture.
So look at the edges.
Yeah.
So you've seen, and you guys have worked on and worked with countless people. Do you have like a most memorable project that you guys have worked on of all the projects that you guys have done? And there's some spectacular projects that I've seen the photos. I see your Instagram. I see everything. but is there any that's most memorable?
Yeah. It's always the
For
first,
better or worse.
like it's always the first one and the last one, right?
Right.
But yeah. Well, we have one of the project which was, I think it was about 6 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So that was right at the start. And it was one of the most complicated projects that we did. The owner of the apartment, he actually found us at the home show.
There
he
you go.
spent like an hour and a half walking around, like we kind of, a little bit, we got sick of him at first because, he was walking, asking when the person is asking you questions for an hour and a half, you're getting a little bit tired. But he actually ended up being a very cool guy. He has a great family, and he's my neighbor now, so he had a designer, but I think the designer didn't see his vision. So at the very end, he used the designer just to make the renders of what he wanted.
He took it into his own hands, came to the home show and said, I'm going to figure it out here.
And it came out beautiful because he was doing classic doors.
Right.
That's something that not a lot of companies do. When you have classic doors, it's something, very traditional, done from wood, and then you paint it or you put a lacquer on it. We do luxury classic doors. So you have different designs. We even have ones with gold and Versace, logo. Well, not Versace logos.
Yeah, right. Looks like it.
It looks like it, yeah. But, it's the crazy things, which it's a classic traditional style door, which is combined with modern hardware. So it looks even cooler. So he had all of those doors. He had classic doors, modern wall panels. So you can imagine it's a white enamel, very nice, classic doors. And then you have bright, rich Brazilian Sucupira wall panels.
Wow.
And then he went even further because he ordered the panels to, for his windows. He wanted to beautify the windows frames. We did that in enamel as well.
Oh, wow.
Then he had some kind of special kitchen from Italy, and he was missing some panels. So we did the panels for that kitchen as well, just to cover those areas which he needed. And that was the feedback from him, because he says, listen, I should have ordered the kitchen from you,
right.
because he says, your panels are better than those panels. It was a project which lasted about 7-8 months. It was a long process. We had, because it was, it's a penthouse, but it was in an older condo. So we couldn't move a lot of the openings, and he had additional panels on top of all of those doors. So we had a specific drawing for every single door that he had.
Oh, wow.
Because there was, I'm going to break this thing. So we had different panels, different heights of the doors. Like it was crazy. Like seriously, the installers who were working on that, they said, listen, do not ever take that project ever again. But now, we gifted him the book where we published, his project, and he's very happy. And he actually became a very good friend of ours. Last year, we had the celebration of our 7th anniversary. It's what's today? Oh, we're going to have another anniversary in like a week from now.
There you
actually. Go. Yeah. But last year, he also came, and he was one of our, the greatest, customers that we ever had. He was hard. Like I do not say that he was a very easy person to deal with.
Right.
No, but the project came out very cool. And that was one of the most expensive projects that we had for a long time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And they haven't stopped. They just continuous innovation, different projects. You were mentioning a project earlier where it's like there's a project that they're selecting every type of door that you have.
It's interesting because I wasn't the one who was placing that order. It was the salesperson, so I don't know all the details. But when I checked the order before I sent it to the technical department, I looked at it, and I think it has every single type of frame, finish, every type of system that we use, because there's hidden door, which is prime, hidden door with porcelain, hidden door with leather. And then, you have traditional, then you have coplanar, then you have one with a panel, then you have 2 different types of the dividers. We are finishing this project right now. Like as we speak, it's being installed. So I really hope that within a couple of months, we're going to have the project fully done.
Send us some of those pictures.
I want to go there personally to see that, because it has to be a designer, who was doing it, because unless the owner is the designer by themselves. Because in order for you to use all types of frame, I think the person just came to the showroom and was like, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. So which one do you choose? All of them.
All of them. Just make it make sense.
Yeah. But it's interesting, because it's a good thing that you can come to one company and you can get all of that stuff. Because can you imagine if you come and you're like, okay, I want that door, but I want this finish, I want that system. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't do that. You got to go to another company.
Right.
And then, it's complicated for the homeowner because you have to deal with all these different companies as well.
That's a good point, without a doubt. You mentioned the home show, so I'm going to elaborate on this.
What's that?
So, talk about the home show, and I mean, you've been in the show basically since you started. But
7 years.
7 years.
More than 7 years.
Yeah.
7.5 years.
When literally, like, your company was a thought. Like, your first step was probably, well, how do we meet people? How do we get out to the market? What does the home show mean to you guys, and how has it helped you build your business?
It's our whole life. No, it's actually, I would really strongly recommend, especially for all new businesses, to be a part of the home show. It's not because I got trapped here, in this room and you're here watching me. But seriously.
But you're in it over and over, so there's a reason for it. Yeah,
it is a very good start because, if you open a showroom, you're doing, Google advertising, whatever advertising, you're standing on the streets, and you're giving the flyers, all that work, if you put the billboards, everything works. Any type of even the bad advertising also, that's one of my favorites.
Right.
Yeah, but it also, it works. But when you go to the show, you have the customers, you have the leads, and you have the people who are coming over who want to get something for their home. And not necessarily they want to get the doors.
Right.
So, the people went and they want to buy a kitchen and they need some ideas, or they want to buy a mixer or something, because they saw it at the last show and they see something else and they buy. You have the concentration of the crowd, which some companies have that concentration within, months and months, but you have it within 3 to 4 days.
Right. And
not necessarily that you will get the orders done immediately. We did have a couple shows where crazy, when we were just sitting and accepting the checks. And I even remember you coming over, like, do you have a minute? I'm like, no.
Right.
So that was, that's good. But we also have the people, we had a guy about 3 months ago who came over because we give the flyers, that, for a discount from the show. And he brought the flyer from Manna Wynwood.
Wow.
Manna Wynwood.
And that's going back 2019, 2018. Yeah.
And, and the flyers, it has the expiration date, but because he kept it for so long, we granted him a special discount and, he ordered the doors because I was like, wow, I'm like, if you kept it, you really wanted, really wanted to get the doors. And we found them at the home show. We also, it's a very interesting story. We, I think it was also sometime in 2018 or 19, at one of the home shows, we had a couple of guys who were building the home for themselves, and they were building with a builder who was already working with a door company for quite some time. And the customers did insist of having our doors. They said, we don't want anything else. Just, the customer pays for it, so they have the right to choose. And the builder was not very happy about us, they were very skeptical, a new company. We were, for a couple of years only. And we finished the project. We did one of the innovative things for that time because the builder had a problem with the project. They had the ceilings, which were not level. Well, they were leveled, but they were not on the same level in different rooms. And they had some of the parts were lowered, and then the sides were higher. But the customer wanted to have the doors up to the ceiling, and they wanted to have the frameless doors. So what we did, we had like a transom, which was just installed up to the ceiling, and then the door was 8 feet, and that was one of the first projects that we did like that. And after that, since that project, that builder, I don't think they ever had any other project without us.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So and they are bringing the people because, when you're a contractor, you work with a designer. And then if you're a designer, you work with different contractors. So we have like a group of, maybe 10, 15 companies, which came specifically from that customer who we met at the home show.
Right. And you never know how it grows and evolves because at the show, you've met builders, designers, homeowners, architects, all types of people. And you've created great relationships. And, that's what we love to see. Like, you guys are like the epitome of like the success story.
Show.
Yeah.
It's a show. Like, seriously, it has to be fun. You cannot just stay there and be like, oh, buy our windows or buy our doors. No, it has to be a show. So, when I see, I mean, maybe it's because we are a little bit weird, but, we dress up for the show
Absolutely.
as for a party, so when people come back next time and they see the door company, because people don't have a good memory on the company itself, because when you are not in the door business, you don't see the details. You're like, doors, 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 and that's it. But sometimes, people come back and they're like, oh, that company. I remember that girl in that dress. So
well, it all comes down to your brand. You're building an actual brand, so people remember you. But it's relationships, and people remember you. They remember your team. They remember everything that your brand represents, and that's what we love about it, because people can build a brand. They can get immediate leads. They get longevity of business. So we appreciate you, and you guys. Obviously, you always put together a show-stopping display. So it's impressive. But what you guys have accomplished with your business is impressive. But what is the future of Indigo Doors? Like, where are you? What is next? Because every time we talk, I feel like you always have a next, and as far as new products, innovations, things like that. Can you shed some light?
You're always trying to get that out of me, right?
Right. Where are we going next?
And then you're like, oh, we don't plan anything. And then 2 months after, Adam, hey, I need to show a new stuff.
Exactly.
Right? We have some plans which I do not want to disclose right now, but there is next.
Right.
We never stop. It's my dad always says that whenever you finish your renovation, that's when your life stops. Unfortunately, the renovations in my childhood were never ending. So it's the same concept that we have in here. When you stop, that's the end. We never stop. We will be presenting not this fall, but most likely toward the first part of the next year, and hopefully at the home show as well, we're going to be presenting something new.
Amazing. Well, I mean, it's inspiring, everything that you guys are doing. You're always forward thinking. We talked about a lot of different things about interior doors, working, finding the right doors, working with contractors, all of the things that people need to know when selecting doors, installing doors, and everything. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to shed some light on? You're the best. We're the best.
Yeah, and then, no. It's okay. We actually talked about everything. It's just that, people 7 years ago or almost 8 years ago that we started, it was very hard to promote interior doors because there was not that many people who were into it. The people treated the doors a little bit differently. So that's why, now I think it's a little bit easier for us, and thank you everybody, for getting into the design and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that I wanted to say, that, now it is easier. It is more interesting. The projects are becoming more interesting. We have the challenges, but we are inviting people, to come over and bring us those challenges, because, it's always fun to do something fun. And I really wanted to thank the home show, because honestly, with putting my hand on the heart, you played a huge role. Stop crying.
Yeah, right.
You played a huge role in that as well, because listen, advertising is advertising. But when you have each show, you have new customers, right? But when you have customers who bought something from you 5 years ago or 6 years ago, that you met them at the show, and they come every show, and they come and they talk to your customer, your future customers at the show, and they buy the doors from them. We have 2 houses with them. This is the best thing.
Absolutely.
Seriously, thank you for that.
100%. And thank you for being a part of it and always bringing, everything that you bring to the show. Beautiful display, craziness, fun, but innovation. And that's what makes the show so special. It's the people in it. It's the brands in it. And it's the fact that, we're really bringing together the best of the industry. But for anyone that wants to reach out to you guys and contact you, what's the best way?
You can call us, you can email us, you can contact us on Instagram. It's pretty much the same. It's Indigo Doors everywhere. It's either indigodoors.com, or if it's Indigo Doors on the Instagram, or you email, it still will be info@indigodoors.com. So, it's very easy. And the phone number, do I have to say the phone number?
That's up to you. They can find it online, but you can
find it online. It's 305-602-5550.
There you go.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming in here. And obviously it's been amazing, from the start. we've seen your family grow. I mean, you and Eugene and your whole team are absolutely amazing. But for all of you who tuned in and listened to this, we appreciate you tuning in. And we are Florida's premier home design and home improvement expo, where you can find everything from all components of your home: furnish, decorate, design, build, remodel. But make sure you visit the next home design and remodeling shows in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, as well as Palm Beach. You can go to our website at homeshows.com. Follow us at FL Home Shows. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to get all of the latest in home design and home improvement. But until next time, stay tuned for the next episode.